event over the weekend, and protesters across the nation spoke out during the March for Our Lives.
Caleb Rydell will have a look at our weather forecast, and Max Stevens will have an update on March Madness. Hi, I'm Anthony Cilia.
I'm Ryan Gooch, and this is Public Eye News. Northern Michigan University hosted its TEDx NMU event over the weekend. TED is a nonprofit organization dedicated to spreading ideas through short, powerful talks. NMU took that to the local level with TEDx. 8 presenters from across Michigan came to speak on a variety of topics, from fake news to Lake Superior's future. Due to TEDx's restrictions, only 100 people could attend the event, but there were live streams available and overflow viewing in Jamrich Hall. And the remains of a missing person, Raleigh Harrington, were found on Sunday. After an extensive 5-day search by land, air, and water, the 25-year-old's remains were found in a heavily wooded area in Mackinac County. There is an active investigation into Harrington's death, but foul play is not suspected. The Michigan State Police have thanked several different agencies and individuals for their assistance throughout the search.
44 dogs and 1 rabbit were removed from a home in Gladstone last week. The animals were all unharmed and showed no signs of neglect. The owners of the animals were speaking with Delta County Animal Shelter prior to the removal of the pets and agreed that it was in the best interest to surrender them. Gladstone Public Safety helped with the transfer, and authorities say that the owners will not be charged. The pets were currently being held at the Delta County Animal Shelter, but will not be up for adoption anytime soon. All 44 dogs have received their first vaccination, deworming, and have been treated for fleas. All animals are safe, warm, and eagerly awaiting new homes. And a 19-year-old Escanaba man who is currently serving time in prison after he was connected to an armed robbery at the Quality Inn and Suites in Escanaba is now facing criminal sexual conduct charges in Delta County. The man was sentenced to 2 to 10 years on charges of aiding and abetting an armed robbery and 1 count of conspiracy to commit armed robbery. He is now faced with 2 counts of criminal sexual conduct of the first degree, 1 count of accosting children for immoral purposes, and count of computer-related crimes that dealt with an underage person back in 2016. The pretrial is currently scheduled for April 9th in Delta County Circuit Court.
And Governor Rick Schneider is looking into the legality of allowing Michigan's 529 college savings plans to be used to cover private K-12 tuition costs. The federal tax cut enacted last year includes the expansion of eligible expenses for such savings plans, so private K-12 tuition is included. However, the Michigan Constitution prohibits direct or indirect public aid to any non-public school. Governor Schneider and State Treasurer Nick Corey sent a letter on Friday to State Attorney General Bill Schuette asking for a legal opinion on the situation. Schneider has requested that Schuette review the request immediately so he can ensure the expansion isn't violating the state law. And following the school shootings around the country recently, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker has signed a $100 million plan that would tighten up security but not put new limits on guns. The legislation that Walker signed provides schools with grants for building improvements and staff training under the oversight of Attorney General Bill Skymill. The legislation was unveiled after a gunman in Florida killed 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School last month. And after the break, we'll be back with your national and international news. Stay tuned.
Everything that we do, from building cathedrals to having children, the thrust of it is our fear of death.
I have dug for that answer. It's gonna make it all right.
If there is a holy grail, it has to be uncertainty.
You're on that merry-go-round for one ride, and it's a ride that we never fully understand.
Death is really the central mystery.
Tonight at 9 after Antiques Roadshow.
And welcome back. A plane landed safely in Warwick, Rhode Island after reported issues with a nose gear. 53
A first grade little girl is going to go home to a house that doesn't have a mother. And, you know, I'm going to say, what could we have done better?
Cittadino has attended the funerals or wakes of at least half a dozen of his former students who've died from overdoses. And it's because of those fatal consequences that Cittadino decided to take aggressive action to educate families.
When you see their parents, they're at a loss. They're heartbroken. Many of them have tried everything.
Cittadino sent 8th graders home with this letter to parents and guardians telling them if they want tickets to their child's graduation in June, they had to attend a 1-hour seminar about opioid use and addiction.
It helps them to find signs and signals and that they may not have already known.
There will be 3 nights in April to choose from, but some parents are still complaining about the inconvenience.
You shouldn't be obligated to attend any seminar that needs to happen in order for the parent or guardians or family to attend a graduation.
Others praise Cittadino for being proactive.
Unfortunately, I don't know the signs, so I think it's a great thing that they're having the meeting.
That's great. The more information you can get out to the families, the better it is for everyone.
Cittadino says he's hosted optional seminars about the dangers of opioids, but they were poorly attended. He's hoping families see this requirement as a benefit.
Because it's a game of numbers. The more people that we educate, the more impact it's going to have in saving lives in our community.
And he says that's all he really cares about. In Old Bridge, New Jersey, Hazel Sanchez, TV 1055.
On Sunday, thousands of people went out across the country and marched for their lives. People from Parkland, Florida to Washington, D.C. all gathered to call for stricter gun laws and stricter school safety. Across the pond, people in London were gathering outside the U.S. Embassy, and in France, people gathered around the Eiffel Tower calling, "Enough is enough and never again." Over 20,000 people gathered outside the Parkland High School to protest, and tens of thousands of people gathered in D.C., New York City, Houston, and more. The White House is applauding the courageous young teens for standing up for what they believe in, and Trump has told the Justice Department to officially ban bump stocks. And a woman who claims she had an affair with President Trump in 2006 broke her silence in a 60 Minutes interview Sunday night. Stormy Daniels risks having to pay $1 million because she violated a non-disclosure agreement in which she paid $130,000. But the NDA could pose problems for the president and his personal attorney as well. Weijia Zhang has more details from the White House.
The White House is not buying what Stormy Daniels said on 60 Minutes.
The president doesn't believe that any of the claims that Ms. Daniels made last night in the interview are accurate.
The adult film actress claims she had a one-night affair with President Trump in 2006, even though she has denied it in the past.
He's like, wow, you are special. You remind me of my daughter.
Daniels says years later she received a threat to keep the affair a secret.
A guy walked up on me and said to me, "Leave Trump alone, forget the story." And then he leaned around and looked at my daughter and said, "A beautiful little girl, it'd be a shame if something happened to her mom."
President Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen, says he had nothing to do with that, but admits to paying Daniels $130,000 of his own money as part of a non-disclosure agreement just days before the 2016 presidential election, which may be considered a campaign contribution. Cohen says neither the Trump organization nor campaign was involved in paying Daniels. His attorney added President Trump did not reimburse Cohen, but he did call the president a third-party beneficiary.
That's to protect reputation, it's to protect family, and it's to protect business. That's what that payment is for. It has nothing to do with running for president.
President Trump tweeted Monday morning, "So much fake news, never been more voluminous or inaccurate." Weijia Zhang, CBS News, the White House.
And after the break, we'll be back with your weather and sports. Stay tuned.
Next, Makers. Women steal the spotlight.
And action.
For the first time, men were having to look at themselves as secondary characters.
And prove they radiate on and off screen.
A woman who embraces power is very compelling.
We'd made the pilot of Grey's Anatomy, and I sat in a room with a bunch of men, one of whom voiced that nobody was going to want to watch. The show's been on the air for 10 years.
Makers, Women in Hollywood.
Tuesday night at 8 after PBS NewsHour.
Welcome back. I'm Caleb Rydell, going to be taking you through your weather for today. As you can see behind me, it is looking still a little snowy out there on the NMU campus, but it's going to melt off as we are getting into the 40s coming up here. Right now, current conditions, partly cloudy out there with a temperature of 39 degrees, winds out of the southeast at 11 miles per hour, and a barometric pressure of 30.31 inches and falling. Tonight, we take a look at some rain coming in for the first time since last fall, and we're going to get a low of 34, winds out of the southeast at 11 miles per hour. And tomorrow, more of that rain with a high of 43 degrees, winds out of the west-northwest at 11 miles per hour. Taking a look across the UP, we are going to see a little bit of sun on the southern belt of the UP. Looking at Sault Ste. Marie, start off with 41 degrees, Manistee with 37, Escanaba with 38, and down in Menominee, 36. Taking a look at the western half of the UP, we're going to see 42 and partly cloudy in Iron Mountain, 37 in Ironwood. Up in the Keweenaw and Houghton with 38, and back here in Marquette, 39 degrees and partly cloudy. Let's take a look ahead at your week. On Wednesday, we are looking at a high of 51 with a low of 30 and sunny. Thursday, high of 34, a low of 22 and clouds. And Friday, we're looking at a high of 33, a low of 19, and a couple more clouds. Well, things are finally heating up. We're finally into the 40s, Max, and I think here things are heating up as well in March Madness.
It's only getting better from here on out, Caleb. With the end of March approaching quickly, only 4 teams are still dancing in the NCAA tournament. This year's Final Four will see Michigan take on Loyola Chicago, and Kansas will battle Villanova for the right to play a week from today. Kansas advances after winning a tough overtime battle with Duke, while Villanova beat a ferocious Texas Tech team to earn their spot in the Final Four. And in one of the most bizarre matchups you will ever see in the Elite Eight, 11-seed Loyola defeated 9-seed Kansas State to advance to their first Final Four in over 50 years, while Michigan advances after surviving a late scare from Florida State. Loyola versus Michigan will tip off at about 6 p.m. on Saturday, followed by Villanova versus Kansas at about 8:45 from San Antonio for the rights to play Monday night in the national championship. And I got some more great news for the Michigan fans out there. The Wolverines have advanced to the Frozen Four in the NCAA hockey tournament after winning against Boston University 6-3 yesterday. The Wolverines are matched up against Notre Dame, who eliminated Michigan Tech, then Providence to advance to the Frozen Four. On the opposite side of the bracket, it will be Minnesota Duluth slated to play Ohio State. The puck will drop April 5th for the semifinal round, and then again on April 7th for all the marbles in college hockey. And the Detroit Pistons G League affiliate, the Grand Rapids Drive, announced that forward Zeke Upshaw has died after collapsing on the court during a game on Saturday. Upshaw fell to the floor Saturday night with about 50 seconds to go in a game against the Long Island Nets. He was carried off the court on a stretcher and taken to Spectrum Health in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Upshaw was in only his second season with the Drive after going undrafted following 3 seasons with Illinois State and 1 with Hofstra. Upshaw was only 26. Well, Anthony, the Syracuse Orange were eliminated this past weekend, so there will be no orange confetti in San Antonio, but I hear you have something about orange rain for us.
Oh, that is absolutely true. Orange snow has fallen in parts of Eastern Europe after snowy conditions collided with the dusty winds from a Sahara, according to meteorologists. The snow has covered parts of Russia, Georgia, and Romania. The snowfall caused the landscape to look more like a setting from Mars than an earthly one, causing quite the scene on social media. And with that, that's all the time we have for you today. Come back tomorrow, and we'll give you more news per usual. See you.
The preceding program was produced in studios located in the Edgar L. Hardin Learning Resources Center by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television.